Welcome to another episode of Should You Take That Case with your host, Lisa Wade, your friendly neighborhood legal nurse consultant, owner of Wade Nurse Consultants, and creator of our private LinkedIn community, the Attorney Medical Record Resource Group. That is where we get all of our stellar attorney guests. The goal of our show is to be a resource for legal professionals who pursue medical cases by sharing their experience and insights as defense or as plaintiff attorneys. You can catch prior episodes at www.wadenurseconsultants.com/blog, on LinkedIn and on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more. Now here's the host of Should You Take That Case, Lisa Wade.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Medical Record Monday and a brand new episode of Should You Take That Case? It's me, your host, Lisa Wade, friendly neighborhood legal nurse consultant, medical record expert, and owner of Wade Nurse Consultants. Think of us when you have tons of medical records you need translated into normal human language. Visit us at wadenurseconsultants.com. Now, I am also the creator of a wonderful private LinkedIn group called the Attorney Medical Record Resource Group in LinkedIn. That is where we get all of our stellar attorney guests, like the one we have today. We use this as an opportunity to get to know one another. And we're going to do that with our guest today, Bethany Nikitenko. But before we bring Bethany out, we are going to scoot over to our comment section, see if anybody is visiting with us live today. We're going to say hello to you. Also, if you're catching us on the replay, if you are an attorney, put an A into that chat, a P if you're a paralegal, but put a W if you are part of a wonderful group that I love, Women-Owned Law. It is a wonderfully groundbreaking group with the primary mission of empowering women lawyers to achieve success in the business of law. And I need you all to save the date, April the 19th. That is the date of Women-Owned Law's third annual symposium. And we'll be in Philadelphia at the Thomas R. Klein Institute of Trial Advocacy, 12th and Chestnut. Save the date, put that on your calendar, and visit us at womenownedlaw.org to learn a little bit more. We'll see you there. Now, I want to thank everybody who is catching us live or on the replay. Thank you for taking precious time out of your very busy days to be with us. And now it's time to bring out today's guest. And that is Bethany Nikitenko. And here you are, Bethany.
Hi, Lisa. How are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you for being with us today. It's most greatly appreciated.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for coming. And tell us, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself, Bethany. Tell us a little bit about you.
Sure, Lisa. I am a trial attorney at Feldman Shepherd. I represent catastrophically injured individuals in various types of lawsuits, including medical malpractice, products liability, premises liability, motor vehicle, and sexual abuse. So basically, anytime someone is injured, I'm happy to represent them. In addition to that, I'm a board member of Women-Owned Law, a very proud and enthusiastic member. And I'm also currently chair of the Board of Governors of the Philadelphia Bar Association.
Oh, boy, you sound like you are a very busy person, Bethany.
I try to stay busy, Lisa.
Well, I know we're going to jump in a little bit. You're going to tell us about how medical records creeps into your cases and how that affects them. But first, tell us a little bit more about you. Dig deep. Tell us how you got to be an attorney, what you enjoy about what you do, what keeps you in it.
Sure. When I graduated from Temple Law School back in 2007, like many law students, I just wanted a job. I really didn't care what it was in. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew that I wanted a job and I wanted a paycheck. And I landed at a law firm that did all different types of law, from commercial litigation to business disputes to medical malpractice. And I found myself gravitated toward the medical malpractice cases for a number of reasons. First of all, I felt like I was really helping people. I felt that I was able to represent someone who had something wrong done to them, and I wanted to fight for them and get a good result. So that was one of the first reasons. And I've kind of always been like an underdog type of person. I want to help people. I want to represent the underdog. But second, I found that I just really enjoyed medicine. I don't have a background in medicine. I don't have any education. I don't have any experience, but I kind of learned enough to be dangerous. And I really personally enjoy reviewing medical records and trying to figure out what happened. I mean, growing up, I always liked, Perry Mason or Matlock. And when I go into a medical record chart, it's sort of like the same thing. I want to piece together the puzzle to try to figure out what happened. So after starting at this firm that does all different types of law, I said, I really want to just do medical malpractice and other types of personal injury cases. So I was looking for a firm that more exclusively did what I was looking for. And I switched firms at that point. And I continued to do what I love, and I learned more, and I had great experiences. Unlike a lot of lawyers, I actually have a lot of trial experience handling medical malpractice cases. I've seen the inside of a courtroom many times where I actually try these cases. And then I switched positions again to my current firm because, this firm, Feldman Shepard, is regarded as one of the leaders in medical malpractice and personal injury. So to this day, I love representing victims. I like connecting with people. I like being able to help them. And I also just love the medicine side of that. So that's where I ended up today and why I love doing what I do.
Oh, it sounds like you have found your happy place and your superpower.
Absolutely. I think a lot of lawyers will tell you, Lisa, that if you don't like what you're doing, it's not going to work out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to be happy every day with what you're doing. That's true. Well, tell us a little bit about what factors into deciding if you should take a particular case that comes your way, or if it's something that's not a case or something you should refer out to a different attorney, a different firm.
Sure. So that's a difficult question because there are a lot of different factors that are taken into consideration when I review a case. I think if you're talking about a medical malpractice case, there are different factors than another type of personal injury case. But just looking at medical malpractice for a second, I'm sure you're aware that in any medical malpractice case, there are 3 elements that you have to prove. 1, that the physician was negligent. 3, that you have suffered damages. And 2, that the negligence was the cause of your damages. So first, I'm looking at all of these factors to determine whether I can meet all of the elements. Number 1, did the doctor do something wrong? And is it clearly wrong? I want a clear breach of the standard of care. We don't want it to be a gray area because juries are very forgiving when it comes to physicians. So I want a clear breach of the standard of care. I want it to be clear that the breach of the standard of care is the cause of the client's injuries. And 3, what are the damages? And I think that damages are oftentimes the most significant element of the evaluation of the case. Because as a medical malpractice attorney, you want to make sure that the potential for recovery is significantly more than the cost of litigation. Obviously, you're aware that litigation is very expensive. So you want to make sure that it makes sense for you, it makes sense for the client when you're evaluating the case. Now, say the damages are very significant in the case. You have a case that's worth millions and millions of dollars. Then that changes the analysis sometimes for liability and causation. Maybe I'm willing to take a case that's not as clear on liability or not as clear on causation if the damages are significant. So that's the first three elements that I look to. But then there's a number of other considerations that are involved. What's the venue of the case? Can I file it in a venue that is advantageous for me and my client? Or am I going to be stuck with somewhere that's not a great venue, where the jurors more likely find in favor of the doctors, where the court process and systems are longer, where it's going to take longer for me to get to trial? Is it somewhere that's a location that's convenient for me or inconvenient for me? So again, that's part of the consideration. Also, not only the venue, but what is the state where the case is being filed? What are the laws in that state? For example, in Pennsylvania, the laws are significantly more advantageous to plaintiffs in medical malpractice cases than New Jersey. Is the case in Pennsylvania? Is the case in New Jersey? Is it in another state? Does the state limit pain and suffering damages? Do they limit compensatory damages? So this is all part of the analysis. Another part of the analysis, and I'm sorry to answer your question with a lot of information, but another part of the analysis is who is the client and what is their injury? Is this person very likable? Is this person, for one reason or another, unlikable? Were they contributorily negligent in any way? Is the injury something a jury is going to be able to see and believe? Is the person in a wheelchair, or do they have a brain injury? So I'm sure if I thought about it for a while, there are probably a whole host of other things I could think of. But off the top of my head, those are the most significant things that go into the analysis. And I think that for a medical malpractice case, that is my most stringent analysis. So if it's a products liability case, a premises case, an auto case, my standards are lower. But when it comes to medical malpractice, again, the juries tend to hold doctors in a very high regard, and they tend to give them the benefit of the doubt. So if it's a medical malpractice case, I want a very clear case that there was a breach of the standard of care and that it was the cause of the client's injuries.
Well, Bethany, you sound very thorough. I'm sure that your clients appreciate that.
I try, Lisa, I try.
All right. Well, let's scoot over to those medical records. I think we're at a good spot for that. I'm just trying to find out when those medical records come into play, when they start piling in, do you have a specific routine or process for getting to the meat of the situation, all of those juicy details inside of those records?
So a lot of lawyers rely on paralegals or people such as yourself to do the initial review of the medical record. My practice is to review the records myself. And it's sort of what I call like a quick and dirty review. So I have two things. One, I have a mouse clicker where I literally just click as quickly as I can. It could be, 8,000 pages of records, 16,000 pages of records, but I want to see what's there. I want to quickly go through the junk and look for paragraphs, doctor's notes in paragraphs that I can review and see what happened. Although sometimes when I'm going in, I know what I'm looking for. I had a case recently. I was looking for ventilator readings. I wanted to know, end tidal CO2. I wanted to know if there were any alarms. So I'm quickly clicking through the records as quickly as I can to try to find what I'm looking for. Another thing that helps me sometimes is that I have them uploaded to our system in a format that is searchable. So if I have a particular word that I know I'm looking for, I'll start with searching for that word. But my general practice is to review the records myself the first time, to just click through them as quickly as possible to identify what I'm looking for. If possible, to do a word search. and then go from there. Once I find what I'm looking for, I can extract those pages from the medical record. I can send them to an expert, and then I can send them to my paralegal and ask for a medical chronology. And oftentimes myself, I do sort of my own chronologies, not as pretty, or the format will not be as good as what my paralegal would do, but I sort of have my own timeline. I'm always working in a timeline in my mind. So that's the way I start the process.
Well, I got you. Yeah, and let me tell you, I do a word search myself when I'm doing a chronology, for sure. The only place it gets me is when I'm looking for something that's missing. It's not so helpful.
No, that is the worst. And oftentimes, I don't know about you, but it's more frustrating when you think something should be in the record and it's not there than when you're looking for something and you finally find it. I find that's the hardest thing, knowing whether you're missing anything.
Yeah, I got you. Now, well, when we're getting into what's frustrating, is there anything else that you find maybe frustrating or have a pet peeve that comes up when you are dealing with some of these records, medical records, and their reviews?
Sure. So the two pet peeves that come to my mind, first is getting the records themselves.
Mhm.
That is always a very arduous process, and it can be a very expensive process. And my firm tries to use the HITECH Act to get medical records for our clients so that we save them money and that they are not out significant funds at the end of their case. But oftentimes we find that the medical providers don't respond to the HITECH Act request because they want the clients to pay for the records. And, as an aside, I've reported various providers to the Department of State before. And that has been a way that I've been able to get records, and that's been helpful. So the first thing is just getting the records, identifying the providers and getting all the records in the door. So that's my first pet peeve. My second pet peeve in general would be electronic medical records for a whole host of reasons. I think that as a whole, it has not been great on the profession, electronic medical records. Just because there are things in the records doesn't mean it happened. And oftentimes the records are like pre-populated. So it's hard to know when you're reviewing the records, is this something that was auto-populated in the system, or did this actually occur? That's the first thing. The second thing is the nature of electronic medical records are so repetitive. So I was reviewing a chart today in anticipation of a deposition that I have on Wednesday. And I noticed that in the discharge summary, there's a number of different sentences that were written by a specific provider. But then when you go into the records, you realize that all of those sentences were put into the electronic medical record on different dates by the provider. So the record is constantly pulling information and putting it somewhere else. So you could have one entry in the record that turns into 10 or 20 entries, and it just creates so many additional pieces of paper and so many more records to review. So again, pet peeves, number one, getting records. Number two, electronic medical records.
Oh, definitely. I'm with you. I'm with you and with all of that, and that's for sure. Well, you have given us such wonderful information, such wonderful nuggets of your knowledge, and we definitely are so glad that you've been with us today.
Thank you, Lisa. It has been a pleasure, and I'm inspired by your enthusiasm for the process. And it really has been an honor to be here. And I'm looking forward to seeing you at the Symposium for Women-Owned Law.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'll be there. Definitely on April the 19th. Oh,
Yeah.
but before you go, we've got a couple more things. You've given us such wonderful information so far. I'm just trying to see, is there anything, a summary, something that we've missed that you have, maybe some last end of discussion points for or recommendations for newbie attorneys or veteran attorneys when they're deciding if they should take these types of cases?
Sure. I think that when it comes to medical malpractice, you really shouldn't dabble in it. So if you're a new attorney, I think you need to make the decision to affiliate with other attorneys who really know what they're doing, or not do it at all, because it's an area of the law where you have to have a lot of knowledge. The people that do it have a lot of experience, and it's also very expensive. It's not the kind of thing where you can get one expert and get away with it. You're going to need multiple experts to properly represent your client. If you're an experienced attorney in this area, then congratulations, because there aren't that many attorneys who have experience in this area. But I think it's important for attorneys to remember that they shouldn't solely rely upon support staff in their office to review the medical records. I think to be a really good medical malpractice attorney, or any type of attorney dealing with medical records, you have to have the time and the knowledge to get into the chart yourself and familiarize yourself with what happened. I think that using support staff or people like yourself can be an excellent aid in the process. But I don't think you can fully take a deposition or know the case or represent your client without fully engaging in the medical records themselves. And then the last thing is to not overlook the importance of experts. You know, a lot of people think, okay, it's the beginning of the case, I'll get a certificate of merit, and then, I won't talk to the expert until it's time for the expert to write his or her expert report. And I think as an attorney, you have to know what you know and know what you don't know. And it's important that you speak with your experts before going into depositions, because you can bounce ideas off of them. They can remind you what's most important in the case, and they can give you information that you might not have known before. And also, they like to offer you potential questions. Now, they're probably not the best lawyer questions, but I recommend that you listen to them, because there could be information in there that you want to get out of your witnesses. So know what you don't know. If you're going to take the case, get into the chart, and don't overlook the importance of your experts.
Oh, again, that sounds like wonderfully excellent advice. And we are coming to the time in our show when we have a little Q&A. If you are ready for people to ask you a few questions.
Sure.
All right. Well, while everybody is out there getting their questions together for Bethany to answer, and you're going to put them inside the comment section. But while we're waiting for you to get that info together, it's time for what I call a small sponsor break. And we're going to tell you a little bit about what Wade Nurse Consultants can do for you. And then we'll get right back to Bethany. Now, everyone may not always be clear about what legal nurse consultants do, so I'll make that clear for you today. Here at Wade Nurse Consultants, it's all about review, research. We review medical records, we summarize and translate that information into normal human language, easily understood by judges and juries. When we research, we complete medical literature searches regarding topics attorneys may not be familiar with or need a little more in-depth details to convey complex concepts to judges and juries. And when we create roadmaps, we create plans for injured clients in the form of life care plans, detailing their future medical needs over their lifetimes, including estimated costs of care. To recap, legal nurse consultants at Wade Nurse Consultants, it's all about review, research, and roadmaps. Now, get ready to go down to the description box of this YouTube channel and click on the scheduling link so you can schedule a 15-minute medical case strategy call. And now let's get back to Bethany. Bethany, are you ready for some questions?
Yes, Lisa.
All right, let's peek over to the comments, see if there are any questions yet. and there aren't. but that happens sometimes. I have a plan for that. What I'm going to do is put your contact information into the description box of this YouTube channel, and people can come around, catch on the replay, and visit you themselves to ask those pertinent questions. Sounds like a good idea?
Sounds like a plan.
All right. Excellent. So, since we don't have any questions at the moment, I think we're going to wind up, except I do have one question for you.
Sure.
And will you come back again and let me talk to you another time?
Absolutely, Lisa. This was fantastic. I really enjoyed it.
It was wonderful having you. I'm looking forward, like I said, to see you on April the 19th in Philly for the Women-Owned Law Symposium. Are you going to be speaking? Are you going to be presenting?
No, I'm not going to be presenting, Lisa, but I will be an enthusiastic participant, and I look forward to meeting all my women-owned law colleagues there.
Excellent. And I will see you there as well. So, like I said, let's wind up this episode of Should You Take That Case? But I have a few reminders for anybody that's catching us on the replay to like our show, subscribe to this YouTube channel. And if you have any legal nurse consulting questions, reach out to me. My email, lisa@wadenurseconsultants.com. But come back and check us out next week for at Monday, 5:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a brand new episode of Should You Take That Case? And thanks for coming.
Thanks, Lisa.
Bye. Oh, hold on. We got to get down there, and we're almost there. Thank you for your patience.
Thanks for watching and listening to another episode of Should You Take That Case with your host, Lisa Wade, your friendly neighborhood legal nurse consultant, owner of Wade Nurse Consultants, and creator of our private LinkedIn community, the Attorney Medical Record Resource Group. That is where we get all of our stellar attorney guests. The goal of our show is to be a resource for legal professionals who pursue medical cases by sharing their experiences and insights as defense or as plaintiff attorneys. You can catch prior episodes at www.wadenurseconsultants.com/blog, on LinkedIn, and on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more. Thank you for subscribing to our YouTube channel and sharing this show with others.